The champagne glass shattered against the white marble floor, spraying golden liquid across Veronica Hayes' black dress. She didn't flinch. Around her, the dining room of Whitmore's, one of Chicago's most exclusive restaurants, fell into a shocked silence. Gregory Whitmore, the owner himself, stood over her with his arms crossed, his face twisted in contempt. "I don't know how you people managed to get a reservation here," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "but this is a family establishment. We have standards." Veronica's 12-year-old daughter, Maya, clutched her mother's arm, her birthday tiara still crooked on her head. Her husband, Marcus, had gone rigid in his seat. Around them, 5 other family members sat frozen. Their celebration turned into a nightmare. But Veronica just looked up at Gregory with an expression so calm it was almost serene. Nobody knew who Veronica Hayes really was, and in the next few minutes, everything would change. If you believe that justice should reach those who discriminate, and that hidden power is the best plot twist, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Now, let's get to what really happened that evening. It was Saturday, March 14th, 2020. The Hayes family had arrived at Whitmore's at exactly 7:15 in the evening, dressed in their finest clothes for Maya's 12th birthday. The restaurant sat on the corner of North Michigan Avenue and East Oak Street, its glass facade gleaming with warm light, the kind of place where reservations were made months in advance. Veronica had chosen simple elegance that night, a black knee-length dress from Target, comfortable flats, her hair pulled back in a simple bun, no jewelry except her wedding band. She'd come straight from what she'd told her family was a long day volunteering at the community center. Her husband Marcus wore a suit he'd bought on sale at Macy's. The kids were in their Sunday best, Maya's dress a cheerful yellow that matched her bright smile. When they walked through the brass-trimmed doors, the host's expression had shifted almost imperceptibly. His eyes had traveled from Veronica's face down to her shoes and back up again, lingering on her daughter's tiara, a plastic thing from Party City that Maya had insisted on wearing. "Hayes," Veronica had said simply, "reservation for 8 at 7:30. The host checked his tablet, and something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe, or doubt. "Hayes," he repeated, "party of 8. "That's correct." He'd led them through the restaurant, past tables of well-dressed white diners who turned to watch them pass. The room was magnificent. High ceilings with crystal chandeliers, walls covered in rich burgundy wallpaper, tables set with silver and fine china. Each step of the Hayes family drew eyes, some curious, some suspicious, some openly hostile. Their table was in the back corner, partially hidden behind a marble column. Not the window seat Veronica had specifically requested when making the reservation, not even close to the center of the dining room where a pianist played soft jazz. The worst table in the house. Veronica had said nothing. She'd simply helped seat her family, arranged Maya at the head of the table, and accepted the menus the host practically threw at them before disappearing. For 20 minutes they waited. Around them, waiters glided between tables, refilling wine glasses, delivering steaming plates of food, laughing with customers. Not one approached their table. Veronica watched Marcus's jaw tighten, watched her brother-in-law David check his watch for the 5th time, watched her mother-in-law Patricia shift uncomfortably in her seat. Maya had been trying so hard to stay cheerful. "Mum, can we order the lobster? You said anything I want for my birthday." "Of course, baby. Anything you want." But still, no waiter came. It was Marcus who finally stood up, trying to flag down a passing server. The young woman, blonde, probably 25, looked right through him as if he were invisible. She served the table next to them, laughing at something the customer said, then walked away. That's when Gregory Whitmore himself emerged from the kitchen. Gregory was 52 years old, with silver hair swept back from a tanned face, wearing a perfectly tailored navy suit. He owned 3 restaurants in Chicago, and Whitmore's was his flagship, his pride. He'd been featured in Chicago Magazine as one of the city's most influential restaurateurs. His smile was practiced, his handshake firm, his eyes cold. He'd been watching the Hayes family since they arrived, watching and waiting for an excuse. And when he saw Marcus standing, trying to get service, something inside Gregory made a decision. He crossed the dining room with quick, purposeful strides, his polished shoes clicking against the hardwood floor. Every eye in the restaurant tracked him. He stopped at their table, his presence looming. "Is there a problem?" His voice carried that particular tone, the one that sounded polite but held an edge sharp enough to cut. Veronica spoke before Marcus could. "We've been waiting 20 minutes for someone to take our order." Gregory looked at her as if noticing her for the first time. His eyes did that same journey the hosts had done, scanning her simple dress, her plain shoes, her lack of jewelry. Then his gaze moved to Maya's plastic tiara, and his lip curled just slightly. 20 minutes, he repeated. "I see." He didn't apologize. Didn't call for a waiter. Instead, he said, "May I see your reservation confirmation?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Marcus reached for his phone, but Veronica touched his arm gently. "Is there a problem with our reservation?" "I just want to verify you're supposed to be here," Gregory said. "We've had issues with people using fraudulent reservations." "People," Veronica repeated, her voice still calm. "What kind of people?" Gregory's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I think you know what I mean." Around them, other diners had stopped even pretending to eat. Phones were coming out. A woman at the next table had her camera pointed directly at them. In the corner, a young man was holding up his phone horizontally, recording for Instagram or TikTok or Facebook Live. Patricia, Veronica's mother-in-law, spoke up, her voice shaking. "Young man, we made this reservation 3 months ago. We have every right to be here. Ma'am, I'm going to need to see proof of payment for this reservation." Gregory pulled out his own phone, making a show of checking something. "Because I'm looking at my system right now and I'm seeing some irregularities." "What irregularities?" Marcus demanded, standing up straighter. That's when Gerald Finch, the restaurant's general manager, appeared. Gerald was 48, balding, with wire-rimmed glasses and a perpetual frown. He'd worked at Whitmore's for 15 years, and he took his cues entirely from Gregory. "Mr. Whitmore, is there an issue?" Gerald asked, loud enough for surrounding tables to hear. "Gerald, did you take a reservation from this party?" Gerald made a show of looking confused. "I don't recall, sir. Let me check." He pulled out a tablet, scrolled through it slowly. "I'm not seeing a haze party for tonight." It was a lie. Veronica knew it was a lie. She'd confirmed the reservation just 2 days ago, had the email on her phone, had paid the $500 deposit for their table. But she didn't reach for her phone, didn't defend herself. She just sat there, hands folded in her lap, watching. "You see," Gregory said, turning back to Veronica, "we don't have any record of your reservation, and frankly, I'm not sure how you even got past the host." A man at a nearby table laughed. Actually laughed. He was in his 60s, red-faced, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Marcus's monthly salary. "Gregory, you run a tight ship. How'd they slip through?" Gregory smiled at him, a real smile, warm and conspiratorial. "Must be getting soft in my old age, Robert." Robert and his wife both chuckled. Others joined in. The laughter spread through the room like a disease. Veronica's youngest nephew, Caleb, was only 7. He looked up at his mother with wide, confused eyes. "Mommy, why are they laughing?" His mother, Sharon, pulled him close, her own eyes bright with unshed tears. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," Veronica said, her voice cutting through the laughter. The room fell quiet. "We have a confirmed reservation. We paid a deposit. And we're not leaving until my daughter has her birthday dinner." Gregory's expression hardened. "You're not leaving?" "Ma'am, I own this establishment. I decide who eats here and who doesn't. And I'm telling you right now, you and your family need to leave." "On what grounds?" Marcus's voice was rising. "On the grounds that I don't believe you have the means to pay for a meal here," Gregory said flatly. "Do you have any idea how much dinner costs at Whitmore's? The average bill is $400 per person. That's $3,200 for your table, plus wine, plus the birthday cake I'm sure you'd expect. We're talking $4,000 minimum." He let that number hang in the air. "So I'm going to ask you one more time. Can you afford to eat here?" Veronica looked at him steadily. "Yes." "Prove it. Show me a credit card with a $10,000 limit." The request was absurd, illegal even. No restaurant could demand proof of payment before service. But Gregory wasn't backing down, and the crowd was on his side. Phones were everywhere now, recording every moment. Marcus reached for his wallet, but Veronica touched his hand again, stopping him. "We don't have to prove anything," she said quietly. "Then you need to leave." Gregory's voice was getting louder. "This is a place for people who belong here. People with class. People like us?" Veronica's interruption was soft but clear. Gregory's face flushed. "I didn't say that. You didn't have to." That's when Gerald stepped forward. "Sir, should I call the police?" The threat electrified the room. Several diners gasped. The man recording on his phone shifted position to get a better angle. A woman whispered to her companion, loud enough to carry, "Can you believe this? They're really going to make a scene." Maya started crying, quiet tears running down her face, her hands clutching the edge of the table. Her birthday tiara sat crooked on her head, the plastic gems catching the chandelier light. "Don't cry, baby," Patricia whispered, reaching across to hold Maya's hand. "It's okay." But it wasn't okay. Everyone in the room knew it wasn't okay. Gregory looked at Maya's tears with something that might have been satisfaction. "You see what you're doing? You're upsetting your own child. If you had any decency, you'd leave quietly." Veronica stood up slowly. The movement was graceful, controlled. She smoothed down her simple black dress and looked Gregory directly in the eye. "You're right," she said. "We should go." Marcus looked at her in shock. "Ronnie, it's okay, Marcus." Her voice was so calm it was almost eerie. "Get the kids." "But Mom," Maya sobbed. "My birthday—" "I know, sweetheart, I know." Veronica bent down, wiped her daughter's tears with gentle fingers. "We'll celebrate somewhere better, somewhere we're actually welcome." She was giving in, backing down, letting them win. Gregory smiled, triumphant. He stepped aside, gesturing toward the door with a mocking little bow. "Gerald, please escort them out. To make sure they don't take anything on their way." The insult was deliberate, calling them thieves on top of everything else. Gerald moved toward them, but he didn't need to. The Hayes family was already standing, gathering their coats, herding the confused, crying children toward the exit. Veronica was the last to turn away from the table. As she did, Gregory said just loud enough for the nearby tables to hear, "Next time, make sure you can actually afford to eat somewhere before you make a reservation. There are plenty of McDonald's in this city." Laughter erupted. Real, genuine laughter from at least a dozen diners. Robert, the man in the expensive suit, was practically slapping his knee. His wife had her hand over her mouth, her shoulders shaking. Two women at another table were laughing so hard they had to dab at their eyes with napkins. A waiter, young, Hispanic, clearly uncomfortable, had his phone out, recording. A couple in their 30s were doing the same. Someone's flash went off. The whole humiliating scene was being documented from every angle. And then it happened. As Veronica walked past Gregory, he reached out and grabbed her arm. "Oh, and Mom." His grip was tight enough to stop her, not quite tight enough to bruise. "Leave a review if you want. But I'll tell you right now, people know the kind of clientele we serve here, and it's not your type." He released her arm with a little push. Veronica didn't stumble, didn't cry, didn't scream. She just looked at his hand, then back at his face, and for just a moment, just 1 second, something flickered in her eyes. Something cold and absolute. Then it was gone. "Thank you for your time," she said, and she walked out. The Hayes family filed out of Whitmore's in complete silence. Behind them, the restaurant erupted in conversation, excited, energized, feeding off the drama. Gregory stood in the middle of the dining room, accepting congratulations from Robert and several other regulars. "Good for you, Greg," Robert boomed, clapping him on the shoulder. "Can't let just anyone in here. Got to maintain standards." "Exactly right," Gregory agreed. "If I let this place become a Denny's, we'd lose everything that makes us special." Gerald approached, looking concerned. "Sir, some of those people were filming." Gregory waved him off. "So what? Let them film. Anyone who sees that video will know we run a respectable establishment. Besides, what are they going to do? Leave a bad Yelp review?" He laughed at his own joke. But Gerald wasn't smiling. "Sir, that woman. When she looked at you at the end. Did you see her face? What about it?" "I don't know. Something was off." Gregory rolled his eyes. "You're being paranoid. Come on. We've got actual customers to serve." Outside, on the cold Chicago street, the Hayes family stood in a tight cluster. March in Chicago was brutal. Wind whipping off Lake Michigan, temperatures in the 30s, a dampness that cut right through clothing. Maya was shivering, her yellow dress offering no protection. Marcus was furious. "Ronnie, we can't just let this go. That was illegal," Veronica supplied calmly. "Discriminatory? A violation of the Illinois Human Rights Act?" He blinked at her. "Yeah, all of that." "I know." She pulled out her phone, fingers moving quickly across the screen. "David, can you take everyone to Giordano's on Rush Street? Get Maya her favorite deep dish. Order whatever you want. I'll meet you there in an hour." "Where are you going?" Patricia asked. Veronica smiled. It was the first time she'd smiled all night, and there was something in it that made Marcus take a step back. "To make a phone call." "Did you see the calm with which she left? Could you maintain that dignity? Leave your answer in the comments." Inside Whitmore's, the energy had shifted back to normal. Diners returned to their meals, though the Hayes family remained a hot topic of conversation. Several people were already posting to social media, some defending Gregory, some expressing discomfort with what they'd witnessed, most just sharing the drama. Gregory returned to his office on the second floor, a glass of scotch in hand. It had been a good night, he decided. Sure, there'd been an uncomfortable moment, but he'd handled it perfectly, maintained the restaurant's reputation, shown his staff and customers that Whitmore's had standards. His phone buzzed. A text from his wife, Amanda. "How's service tonight?" "Excellent. Had to handle a small situation, but all good now." "What happened?" "Tell you later. Nothing important." He set the phone down and turned to his computer, checking reservations for the next week. Fully booked every night. Whitmore's was thriving. At 7:58, exactly 43 minutes after the Hayes family had been escorted out, Gregory's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Whitmore's, this is Gregory." "Mr. Whitmore, this is James Chen. I'm an attorney with Morrison, Hayes & Associates." Gregory's stomach did a small flip. Morrison, Hayes & Associates. He knew that name. One of the biggest law firms in Illinois. Corporate law, civil rights, major class action suits. They'd been in the news recently for winning a $120 million discrimination case against a hotel chain. "How can I help you?" Gregory tried to keep his voice steady. "I'm calling regarding an incident that occurred at your establishment approximately 40 minutes ago. An incident involving the unlawful discrimination and public humiliation of a family based on their race." Gregory's hand tightened on the phone. "I don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Whitmore. I have in my possession 17 separate video recordings of the incident. Multiple angles, clear audio. You, personally, denying service to a black family, demanding they prove they could pay, physically grabbing one of the victims, and making statements that clearly indicate racial bias." "Now hold on, I'm not finished." James Chen's voice was crisp, professional, utterly without emotion. "You also made comments about your type and people like you, suggested they eat at McDonald's instead, and allowed multiple members of your staff and clientele to participate in and film the humiliation. This occurred in front of minor children, including a 12-year-old girl celebrating her birthday." Gregory felt sweat breaking out on his forehead. "Look, there was a misunderstanding. They didn't have a proper reservation. They had a confirmed reservation made on December 15th, 2019. Confirmation number W77423. A $500 deposit was paid via credit card ending in 3681. The reservation was confirmed via email on March 12th, 2 days ago. I have all of this documentation. I can explain. Mr. Whitmore, let me be very clear about what's going to happen. In approximately 15 minutes, I will be filing an emergency motion with the Illinois Human Rights Commission. By Monday morning, we will have filed a federal lawsuit under Title II of the Civil Rights Act, as well as complaints with the City of Chicago Commission on Human Relations. We will be seeking damages for emotional distress, violation of civil rights, assault. Yes, assault. You grabbed my client's arm. And we will be requesting immediate injunctive relief." Gregory's voice came out as a whisper. "Injunctive relief? That means we're going to ask a judge to shut down your restaurant pending investigation. Given the video evidence, the public nature of the discrimination, and the fact that minor children were involved, I'd say we have about an 80% chance of success. You can't, who are you representing?" There was a pause, and then James Chen said with the barest hint of satisfaction, "Veronica Hayes." The name meant nothing to Gregory, just a name. The woman in the simple black dress. "Who the hell is Veronica Hayes?" Another pause, longer this time. "Mr. Whitmore, Veronica Hayes is a senior partner at Morrison, Hayes & Associates, the Hayes in our firm's name. She specializes in civil rights litigation and has won approximately $700 million in settlements and judgments over the past 12 years. She's argued cases before the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. She's won cases against companies significantly larger and better funded than your restaurant. And tonight you humiliated her in front of her daughter on the child's 12th birthday." The scotch glass slipped from Gregory's hand, shattering on the hardwood floor. That's not possible. She looked like what, Mr. Whitmore? What exactly did she look like? Gregory couldn't answer. His mind was reeling, going back over every moment, every word, every sneer and laugh and dismissive gesture. The simple dress, the cheap shoes, the way she'd sat there so calmly, never defending herself, never pulling out credentials or making threats, because she didn't need to. "I'll need to call my lawyer," Gregory managed. "Good idea. You're going to need a very good one. Expect to hear from us officially within the hour. Oh, and Mr. Whitmore, one more thing." "What?" "Every major client dinner, corporate event, and private booking you have scheduled for the next 6 months. I'd start calling them now. Because by tomorrow morning, every corporation in Chicago is going to know exactly what happened here tonight. And I guarantee you, not one of them wants to be associated with a racist who physically assaults black women in front of their children." The line went dead. Gregory stood in his office, the broken glass at his feet, his phone still pressed to his ear. For a long moment he couldn't move, couldn't think. Then slowly, reality began to crash over him in waves. The videos. 17 different recordings, all of them showing him grabbing her arm, all of them catching his words about your type and McDonald's, all of them documenting the laughter, the mockery, the public humiliation, and the woman he'd done it to wasn't just anyone. She was one of the most powerful civil rights attorneys in Illinois. His phone started ringing. His lawyer, then his publicist, then his business partner. Within 5 minutes he had 12 missed calls. Someone had already posted one of the videos to Twitter. Gregory pulled it up with shaking hands. The caption read, "Owner of Whitmore's in Chicago kicks out black family on daughter's birthday. Watch what happens next." Thread incoming. The video had been up for less than an hour. It already had 23,000 views. Gregory sank into his chair, his face in his hands. Downstairs, Gerald knocked on the office door. "Sir, we have a problem." "What now?" Gregory's voice was barely audible. "Channel 7 News is outside. They want a statement about a discrimination incident. Tell them no comment. Sir, they're not leaving, and people are starting to gather, I think. I think some of them are from that family's community. They're carrying signs." Gregory's phone buzzed again. This time it was Amanda. "What did you do? It's all over Facebook." He didn't answer. He couldn't. At Morrison, Hayes and Associates' downtown office, Veronica sat in a conference room with 5 other attorneys, all working at lightning speed. James Chen was on the phone with the Illinois Human Rights Commission. Sarah Martinez was drafting the federal complaint. 2 associates were cataloging every single video, getting sworn statements from witnesses who'd been horrified by what they saw. Veronica herself was calm, methodical, going through every detail of the reservation, the payment, the emails, building an airtight case. Her phone buzzed. "Marcus, we're at Giordano's. Maya wants to know if you're okay." Veronica smiled, typed back, "Tell her I'm perfect. Order her the chocolate lava cake. I'll be there in 30 minutes. James Chen hung up his phone. "They're fast-tracking our emergency motion. Hearing scheduled for Monday morning at 9 a.m. Judge Patricia Okonkwo." "Perfect," Veronica said. Judge Okonkwo was known for her zero-tolerance policy on discrimination. "Veronica," Sarah looked up from her computer, "you need to see this. The video from Twitter has gone viral. It's been picked up by NBC, ABC, CNN. They're calling it birthday discrimination, and it's trending number 3 nationally." Veronica pulled up the trending topics on her phone. There it was. Birthday discrimination. Under it, dozens of videos from different angles, all showing the same scene. Her sitting calmly while Gregory towered over her, the laughter from other diners, Maya crying, Gregory grabbing her arm. The court of public opinion was already rendering its verdict. "Goldman Sachs just cancelled their executive dinner scheduled for next month at Whitmore's," one of the associates announced, reading from his screen. "Public statement says they don't support businesses that discriminate." Deloitte just did the same. Chicago Tribune is running a story, front page digital edition. The dominoes were falling. By 9:30 p.m., less than 2 hours after the Hayes family had been kicked out, Whitmore's social media was in freefall. Their Instagram was flooded with angry comments. Their Facebook page had accumulated over 3,000 one-star reviews. Yelp had posted a public attention alert on their listing due to the unusual activity. Gregory's personal phone hadn't stopped ringing. His business partner, Michael Chen, finally got through. "Greg, what the hell happened?" "It was a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding? Greg, you assaulted a civil rights attorney. On camera. in front of her kid. I didn't know who she was. That's supposed to make it better. You kicked out a black family because you didn't think they could afford to eat there. Do you understand what you've done? We have 6 corporate accounts worth almost $2 million a year. Every single one has called to cancel. Do you know what Morrison Hayes represents? Half the Fortune 500 companies. Any business that wants to avoid a discrimination lawsuit is going to run screaming from us now. We can fix this. How? How exactly do we fix this, Greg? Gregory had no answer. At Giordano's, Maya was finally smiling again. Deep dish pizza in front of her, family around her. Veronica arrived at 9:45, sliding into the booth next to her daughter. Hi, baby. I'm so sorry about tonight. Maya hugged her tight. It's okay, Mom, this pizza is way better anyway. Veronica kissed the top of her head, met Marcus's eyes across the table. He looked confused, worried, but also there was something else there. Recognition, maybe, like he was finally seeing something he should have noticed before. Ronnie, he said quietly, what exactly do you do at that law firm? She smiled. I'll tell you later. Right now, let's celebrate our birthday girl. But Patricia was looking at her daughter-in-law with sharp, knowing eyes. You're going to destroy him, aren't you? Veronica took a sip of her water. I'm going to make sure he never does this to anyone else. Good, Patricia said firmly. That man deserves everything coming to him. By 10 p.m., the situation had escalated beyond Gregory's worst nightmares. The Chicago Tribune had published a detailed article. BuzzFeed had put together a compilation of all 17 videos. A civil rights organization had announced they'd be holding a protest outside Whitmore's the next day. Gregory's lawyer, Robert Kleinman, finally arrived at the restaurant. He found Gregory in his office drinking straight from a bottle of whiskey, the broken glass still on the floor. Tell me exactly what happened, Robert said. Every detail. Gregory went through it all. The reservation he claimed wasn't in the system, the demand to see proof of payment, the comment about McDonald's, grabbing her arm. Robert's face got paler with every sentence. Greg, do you understand that woman has won cases against Walmart? Against major hotel chains? Against companies with billion-dollar legal budgets? I didn't know. It doesn't matter that you didn't know. You can't discriminate against people just because they're black. That's the law. Basic civil rights law that's been on the books for 60 years. So what do we do? Robert was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, We're going to get sued, that's certain. The question is how much it's going to cost. She could ask for compensatory damages, punitive damages, legal fees. We're probably looking at millions. Millions. And that's if we settle quickly. If this goes to trial, if a jury sees those videos. Greg, they had a 12-year-old girl in tears on her birthday. You grabbed her mother's arm. You made her walk out through a laughing crowd. Do you have any idea what a jury would award? Gregory put his head in his hands. There's more, Robert continued. The emergency injunction hearing on Monday. If Judge Okonkwo grants it, and given the evidence, she probably will, you'll have to close the restaurant until this is resolved. That could be weeks, months. That'll bankrupt me. I know. There has to be something we can do. Can we apologize? Offer them money to make this go away. Robert laughed bitterly. Greg, she doesn't need your money. She probably makes more in a month than this restaurant makes in a year. And an apology now? After you've been exposed? It means nothing. Gregory's phone lit up with another notification. His insurance company, they'd seen the videos. They were reviewing whether his policy covered discrimination claims. Translation, he might not even have coverage. At 11 p.m., Veronica finally headed home. Her daughter was asleep in the back seat, birthday tiara still on her head. Marcus was driving, quiet. Are you going to tell me what's happening? He finally asked. I'm going to sue Gregory Whitmore and Whitmore's restaurant for violation of civil rights, assault, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and discrimination. I'm going to ask for $5 million in damages, and I'm going to make sure that restaurant closes. Marcus nearly swerved off the road. $5 million? Ronnie, what? Who? You're a lawyer. She looked at him, confused. Marcus, we've been married for 14 years. You know I'm a lawyer. I thought you worked in HR at some firm. You said you did office work. I said I worked at a law office. I'm a senior partner at Morrison Hayes and Associates. The Hayes is me. I've been doing this for 18 years. He pulled over to the side of the road, put the car in park, and just stared at her. You never asked, she said gently. You always seemed happy that I had steady work with good hours, and I didn't want to make a big deal of it. Jesus, Ronnie, are we rich? She smiled. Comfortable. Very comfortable. In the back seat, Maya stirred. Mom, are we home? Almost, baby. Almost. The weekend passed in a blur of activity. The protest outside Whitmore's on Sunday drew over 300 people. Every local news channel covered it. The videos had been viewed millions of times. Celebrities were tweeting about it. Civil rights organizations were using it as an example of ongoing discrimination in America. Gregory spent the weekend in his lawyer's office, trying to figure out damage control. But every move they considered would be too little, too late. By Sunday evening, 12 more corporate clients had cancelled their contracts. The restaurant's reservations for the next month had dropped by 70%. Staff were quitting, not wanting to be associated with the scandal. And through it all, Gregory kept seeing that moment. Veronica Hayes looking up at him with those calm eyes saying, "Thank you for your time," walking out with her head high. She'd known exactly what she was going to do, and she'd let him dig his own grave deeper with every word. Monday morning, 9 a.m., Cook County Courthouse. Judge Patricia Okonkwo was a 62-year-old black woman who'd spent 30 years as a civil rights attorney before being appointed to the bench. She'd seen every kind of discrimination case, but when she watched the videos that James Chen presented, her expression hardened in a way that made Gregory's lawyer visibly nervous. "Mr. Kleinman," Judge Okonkwo said, "I'm going to ask you directly. Does your client dispute the authenticity of these videos?" "No, Your Honor." "Does he dispute that he demanded proof of payment from this family before serving them?" "Your Honor, if I could explain the context." "Yes or no, Counselor?" "No, Your Honor." "Does he dispute that he physically grabbed Ms. Hayes' arm?" "It was barely a touch." "I can see it clearly in 4 different videos, Mr. Kleinman, does he dispute it?" A long pause. "No, Your Honor." Judge Okonkwo removed her glasses. "Then we're done here. I'm granting the emergency injunction. Whitmore's restaurant will cease all operations immediately pending resolution of this case. Mr. Whitmore, you and your staff have until 5 p.m. today to clear out perishables and secure the premises. After that, the doors stay closed until this court says otherwise." "Your Honor," Robert stood desperate, "closing the restaurant will cause irreparable financial harm, and allowing a business that engages in racial discrimination to continue operating causes irreparable harm to the community." Judge Okonkwo shot back. "The injunction stands. We'll reconvene in 30 days to review the status. This court is adjourned." The gavel came down. Gregory sat frozen in his seat. His restaurant, his pride, his legacy, was being shut down. Just like that. Outside the courtroom, news cameras were waiting. Veronica stood at a podium with her legal team, Maya beside her in her school uniform. "Today, justice took a step forward," Veronica said, her voice clear and strong. "No child should have to experience what my daughter experienced. No family should be judged by the color of their skin or the perceived thickness of their wallet. Whitmore's restaurant engaged in blatant, deliberate discrimination, and they will be held accountable." A reporter shouted a question. "Ms. Hayes, what do you say to critics who think you're being too harsh?" Veronica looked directly into the camera. "I say this. If you think losing a business is harsh, imagine being 12 years old, dressed in your best clothes, wearing your birthday tiara, and having a room full of adults laugh at you while your family is thrown out. Imagine your mother being grabbed and shoved toward the door. Imagine that being filmed and broadcast for the world to see. That's harsh. What I'm doing is simply ensuring it never happens again." "Are you seeking monetary damages?" "Yes, $5 million. Every penny of which will be donated to organizations fighting discrimination in Chicago." Another reporter. "Mr. Whitmore has issued a statement apologizing." "Mr. Whitmore had every opportunity to apologize on Saturday night. He chose instead to mock us, to physically assault me, and to allow his customers to film our humiliation for entertainment. His apology now is not about genuine remorse. It's about avoiding consequences. But there will be consequences." The press conference lasted 20 minutes. By the time it was over, Whitmore's fate was sealed. Over the next 2 weeks, the full weight of what Gregory had done became clear. The federal lawsuit moved forward. Depositions revealed that this wasn't the first time Whitmore's had discriminated, just the first time they'd been caught on camera. 3 former employees came forward with stories of being told not to seat certain customers or to give them bad tables. 2 other families reported similar experiences. Major food critics who'd previously praised Whitmore's withdrew their recommendations. The Michelin Guide removed the restaurant's star. Food and Wine magazine pulled a feature they'd been planning. Gregory's other two restaurants saw business drop by 40%. His business partner, Michael, filed to dissolve their partnership. His wife, Amanda, filed for divorce, citing the public humiliation and the financial disaster he'd brought on their family. And through it all, Veronica Hayes continued her life as if nothing had changed. She went to work, represented her clients, had dinner with her family. The only difference was that Maya now knew exactly what her mother did for a living. "Mom," Maya asked one evening, "did you know all along what you were going to do?" Veronica thought about it. The moment he grabbed my arm, I knew. Before that, I was willing to give him a chance to fix his mistake, but once he touched me, once he showed he had no limits to his cruelty, yes, I knew exactly what I was going to do. "Good," Maya said fiercely. "He deserved it. Remember, baby, it's not about revenge. It's about making sure he can't hurt anyone else the way he hurt us." But there was a part of Veronica that felt satisfaction. She was human, after all, and watching Gregory's empire crumble, knowing it was a direct result of his own actions, his own prejudice, his own arrogance, there was justice in that. 3 months later, the case settled. Gregory agreed to pay $4.7 million, slightly less than Veronica had asked for, but still a devastating amount. Whitmore's restaurant would remain permanently closed. Gregory himself agreed to mandatory training on civil rights and discrimination, to a public apology, which Veronica ensured was as detailed and humiliating as possible, and to a lifetime ban from owning or operating any restaurant in the state of Illinois. The settlement was announced on a Friday. By Saturday, the building that had housed Whitmore's had a for lease sign in the window. Gregory declared bankruptcy 6 months later. He lost his home, his cars, his savings. His reputation was destroyed so thoroughly that he couldn't even get hired as a consultant. The man who'd been featured in Chicago magazine as an influential restaurateur became a cautionary tale, a viral video villain forever associated with racism and discrimination. His former staff moved on to other jobs. Many of them spoke publicly about the toxic environment he'd created, the way he'd encouraged them to judge customers based on appearance, to treat some guests better than others. Robert, the man who'd laughed and called Gregory's behavior maintaining standards, resigned from his position at a major investment firm after his company was inundated with complaints. His career never fully recovered. Gerald, the manager who'd backed up Gregory's lies, was fired from his next 3 jobs once employers discovered his role in the incident, and the 17 people who'd filmed the incident, who'd laughed, who'd participated in Maya's humiliation, they all had their own reckonings. Some lost jobs, some lost friends. All of them learned that in the age of social media, cruelty has consequences. 1 year after that night, Veronica took Maya back to Michigan Avenue. They walked past the empty building that used to be Whitmore's. The windows were dark, the brass trim tarnished. A new restaurant was set to open in the space, this one owned by a black family committed to diversity and inclusion. "How do you feel when you see this?" Veronica asked her daughter. Maya thought about it. "Sad," she said finally. "Not for him, but sad that it had to happen at all, that people like him exist. But proud too," Veronica added, "because when something wrong happened, we didn't just accept it. We fought back, within the law, within the system, but we fought." "Yeah," Maya smiled. "I'm proud." They continued walking, past the shops and restaurants, just another mother and daughter enjoying a spring evening in Chicago. No one recognized them. No one knew that the woman in jeans and a simple sweater had brought down one of the city's most exclusive restaurants. And that was fine with Veronica. She didn't need recognition, she'd never needed it. She'd only needed justice. And she'd gotten it. This case reminds us that no one should be judged by their appearance. Justice, when it comes, is complete and irreversible. Did you notice the signs that something was wrong throughout the narrative? Share your theories in the comments. If you enjoyed this story of poetic justice, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Leave your like if this story inspired you, and share it with someone who believes that hidden power is the best plot twist.